Here we go again, but this time it's different. For as long as this show has existed, 5 years and counting, through all its formats and evolutions, I've barely ever dedicated a full segment to something said by a former Steelers player about the current team. It's just not usually worth the breath. But there was one notable exception. Back in 2021, after a humiliating 23-0 beatdown at the hands of the Vikings in Minneapolis, none other than Mean Joe Green, yes, the very face of the franchise, didn't hold back. He called it the saddest day, and honestly, he had every right. That day was more than just a loss. It was a total collapse on both sides of the ball, and to make matters worse, it was the same game where Chase Claypool got roasted for celebrating a first down while the clock was ticking away. Bad optics, bad execution, just a bad day to be anywhere near the Steelers logo. So now, in a rare twist, we have another former legend weighing in, and it's not some vague critique or a harmless jab from a TV studio. This time, Terry Bradshaw, yes, that Terry Bradshaw, took the mic on a radio show and went off. And while Bradshaw is known for being a bit of a character, someone who often shoots from the hip without much filter, this time what he said wasn't just colorful. It was pointed, it was scathing, and it deserves to be unpacked. Initially, I brushed it off. It was early. I was thinking about OTAs, about who's showing up, how the depth chart is shaking out, the usual off-season stuff. But then I opened the DK Pittsburgh Sports app and saw the full quotes from Bradshaw. And yeah, I had to stop and really take them in. The first bomb he dropped was about the rumors connecting the Steelers to Aaron Rodgers. His reaction? That's a joke. What are you going to do, bring him in for 1 year? Are you kidding me? That guy needs to stay in California, go somewhere, and chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there. Now, whatever you think about Rodgers or that bizarre offseason storyline, you've got to admit, that's vintage Bradshaw. Loud, biting, maybe even exaggerated, but unmistakably honest. But the real meat of his comments came when he started talking about Kenny Pickett. Now listen to this closely, because while it might be easy to laugh off anything Bradshaw says, here's where he hits the nail on the head. He said, I liked Kenny Pickett. I liked him at Pitt. I know him. I know what he's like. When they got him to Pittsburgh, they didn't protect him. They didn't give him an offensive line. They wanted to run the football, but they didn't have an offensive line that could block. They didn't have weapons. He had no wide receivers to speak of. Then they throw a kid in there for 2 years with an offense that doesn't work. And now they're saying Kenny Pickett is a failure. He wasn't a failure. The Steelers were a failure. And you know what? He's not wrong. Say what you want about Pickett's performance on the field or his attitude off it, especially how he seemed to check out the moment he heard Russell Wilson was coming to town, but just try to argue with the broader point here. Look back at that version of the Steelers offense, that porous offensive line, that stale, predictable scheme, that lack of playmakers, that same Matt Canada playbook everyone knew wasn't working. How is that setting up a young quarterback? For success? It's not, and that's what Bradshaw is pointing to. Not that Pickett was some future MVP in waiting, but that the organization failed to create any sort of foundation around him. Oh, this isn't just about Kenny. It's about the process. The way the Steelers identified their quarterback of the future made him the face of the new era, and then, what? Just hope for the best. Wished him luck and sent him out behind a line that couldn't hold up against even the most basic blitz. Packages is organizational malpractice, that's the word. And Bradshaw, for all his quirks and wild analogies, is dead on here. It's hard for fans, heck, for anyone covering this team to separate the player from the situation. But it needs to be done. You have to be able to step back and say, look, maybe Pickett wasn't the guy, but also he never had a real shot. The offensive line has been an issue since Ben Roethlisberger started talking retirement. That's going back to 2018. Think about that. They had years to prepare. Years to build, and instead they kicked the can down the road over and over again until eventually the bottom fell out. Now here we are years later, and what's the plan? Go after Aaron Rodgers for a 1-year rental? That's what set Bradshaw off, and it's not hard to understand why, because it speaks to a lack of vision, a lack of identity, and most damning of all, a lack of understanding of what the quarterback position really needs to succeed in today's NFL. And here's the part that should really sting. Bradshaw is not alone. He might be the loudest voice, the most recognizable. name, but he's far from the only former Steelers quarterback who sees things this way. Over the years, in conversations I've had with a few other guys who wore that black and gold helmet, big names and lesser known ones alike, a common theme keeps popping up. There is a belief, a quiet, sometimes whispered belief, that Mike Tomlin doesn't really know how to develop quarterbacks. That for all his leadership qualities and motivational prowess, the quarterback room has never been his strength. Think about it. During all those years with Ben, Tomlin never had to worry about it. Ben was the alpha, the guy who ran the show. He took care of himself, of the offense, of the tone in the locker room. But now that responsibility falls on the coaching staff, and specifically the head coach, and it's pretty clear that nobody's steering the ship. Just look at the timeline. Ben retires. They reach for Pickett in the first round, and instead of surrounding him with support, they hang him out to dry. Now they're throwing spaghetti at the wall with Russell Wilson and maybe Justin Fields. That's not a plan. That's desperation. And let's not even start on the idea of RODGERS, because as Bradshaw said, and I'll echo it here, what exactly are you hoping to accomplish with that move? Sell a few jerseys? Delay the inevitable? That's not team building. That's grasping at straws. It's not about bringing in a savior. It's about building a system that can sustain itself. And the Steelers, for all their storied history and proud traditions, have not done that in a very long time. Look, none of this is easy to hear. Nobody wants to believe that their franchise, the one with 6 Super Bowl banners and decades of consistent excellence, is flying blind. But facts are facts. And sometimes it takes an old voice, a blunt one like Bradshaw's, to shake us out of the denial. Because whether or not you think Pickett was the guy, you've got to admit the way they handled him was a mess. And whether or not you think RODGERS still has anything left in the tank, chasing him now only adds to the chaos. This is the moment to reflect, to reevaluate, and maybe, just maybe, to admit that the old ways aren't working anymore. That hoping for the next Big Ben to magically appear without laying the groundwork is a fool's errand. That having a franchise quarterback means more than just drafting one. It means nurturing, protecting, and empowering him. And if that's not happening, then no amount of nostalgia or legacy talk is going to save you. Terry Bradshaw might not be the perfect messenger, but this time he's saying exactly what needs to be said. And it's time the Steelers started listening. And speaking of voices that need to be heard, we can't skip over the second half of what's been brewing in Steelers Nation. The fallout from that disastrous playoff loss to the Ravens. That game wasn't just a bad showing. It was a full-on breakdown, especially when you're giving up almost 300 yards on the ground. You don't get gashed like that and just walk away without questions being asked. It was a throwback to that haunting day in Minneapolis when Dalvin Cook embarrassed the Steelers and made Joe Green publicly shake his head in disbelief. Only this time, it was Baltimore doing the damage. And the embarrassment was even worse because it came in a game that mattered so much more. So when the subject of Patrick Queen came up, and how sick he reportedly was during that game, naturally eyebrows went up. People wanted to know, why was he even out there? If he was really suffering from food poisoning, why did the team greenlight his participation in such a critical matchup? And the short answer is, that's how football works. You get to the postseason, especially when you're a key defensive leader like Queen, you find a way to be out there. That's not just about toughness. It's about identity, about leadership, about showing up when it matters most. And yes, he was reportedly a mess. Physically, he could barely move after the game, but at no point did he back down or make excuses. When asked about it during OTAs, he answered every question, didn't shy away from the obvious truth. He wasn't 100%, but he wasn't going to sit either. And here's where the nuance comes in. In any sport, from high school to the pros, when it's your moment, when it's the big game, you do whatever it takes to play. Illness, pain, fatigue, they all take a back seat. Coaches know it. Trainers know it. Players definitely know it. And Queen, being the green dot guy, the one wearing the helmet with the microphone, the guy calling the plays on defense, makes it even more complicated. If he doesn't suit up, who steps into that role? Is there someone else ready to lead? The unit, take the calls, make the reads? Maybe, but not at that level. Not with that experience. And the coaches knew it. So yeah, they rolled the dice. And in hindsight, maybe it wasn't the smartest decision, but it wasn't reckless either. It was calculated risk, the kind that happens all the time in high-stakes football. Now, was it the right call? That's up for debate. Did it hurt the team more than it helped? That's a fair question. But let's be clear. The Ravens were steamrolling the Steelers with or without Queen at full strength. The issues ran much deeper than one sick linebacker. This was a failure at the line of scrimmage, a breakdown in the trenches, and a reflection of a defense that simply wasn't ready to deal with Baltimore's run game. But still, people will latch onto Queen's illness because it's a tangible storyline. It's something they can point to, something that feels like a reason in a sea of disappointment, and that's understandable. But we also have to zoom out and ask ourselves how a defense with so many resources invested, so many draft picks, so much cap space, so much legacy can still fall apart like that when it matters most. Because this wasn't just about one bad game or one bad play or one sick player. It's about a pattern. It's about a team that, despite its proud traditions and high expectations, keeps finding itself asking the same questions year after year. What's wrong with the offense? Why can't the defense hold up in the clutch? Why does this team so often look unprepared for the big moment? And again, that circles us right back to leadership, to the top of the food chain, to decisions made not in the heat of the game, but months, sometimes years in advance. It's about the talent evaluation, the development, the schemes, the depth, all of it. And when you start to connect the dots, you realize that what Bradshaw was saying and what we're seeing with decisions like the Queen situation are all part of the same bigger picture. A picture that suggests the Steelers, for all their stability and heritage, are operating without a clear, cohesive plan. It's not just about wins and losses. It's about building something sustainable, something modern, something that reflects the current state of the NFL, not just how things used to be. The league has evolved. The game is faster, smarter, more specialized than ever. And if you're not adapting, you're falling behind. And right now, too many of the Steelers' moves feel reactive instead of proactive. They feel like responses to criticism rather than steps toward a clear vision, or that's not how champions are built. So yeah, it stings to hear Bradshaw throw shade. It stings to see Queen dragging himself through a playoff game and still watching the team get run over. But maybe we need that sting. Maybe the fans, the front office, even the coaching staff need that uncomfortable reminder that being the Pittsburgh Steelers doesn't automatically make you great. You still have to earn it every season, every week, every snap. And until the organization starts operating like a franchise that's hungry again, not just resting on past glories, we're going to keep having these conversations. We're going to keep hearing from legends who are fed up. We're going to keep asking why a team with so much history keeps making the same mistakes. Because as much as the black and gold still carries weight, the shield doesn't win games. The mindset does. The preparation does. The execution does. And right now, too often, the Steelers are coming up short on all three. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Rumors are swirling in the NFL world as whispers emerge about a surprising quarterback shakeup involving the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sources suggest that the Steelers might be moving away from Aaron Rodgers and instead turning their sights to former Miami Dolphins quarterback Jacoby Huntley. While nothing has been confirmed yet, the buzz is growing louder, sparking excitement and speculation among fans and analysts alike. RODGERS, a seasoned veteran with a celebrated career, has long been a central figure in Pittsburgh's quarterback discussions. However, recent murmurs indicate the Steelers could be considering a fresh direction. Enter Jacoby Huntley, once a promising talent with the Dolphins, who could be poised for a resurgence in his career with the Steelers. This potential signing, if it materializes, might signal a bold new chapter for the franchise, offering a glimpse of a different offensive strategy under center. Huntley's tenure with Miami showed flashes of potential, but inconsistency and team dynamics limited his opportunities to shine. The Steelers, known for their passionate fan base and rich football history, could offer Huntley the stage he needs to prove his worth. For Pittsburgh, bringing in Huntley might be an attempt to inject new energy and unpredictability into their offense, especially if they decide to part ways with RODGERS or shift him to a less central role. While RODGERS remains a high profile, Name with a legacy of clutch performances and leadership, the Steelers' rumored interest in Huntley suggests they are weighing long-term possibilities. The move could be influenced by factors such as salary cap considerations, age, and a desire to build a younger core around a developing quarterback. Huntley's familiarity with competitive environments and his ability to adapt could make him a valuable asset if the Steelers opt to take a chance on him. Of course, all of this is still speculation, with no official announcements made by either the Steelers or Huntley. Fans are eager to see how this potential quarterback carousel unfolds, especially given Pittsburgh's recent struggles and search for stability at the position. If the Steelers do sign Huntley, it would mark a significant shift in their approach and could set the tone for the coming seasons. For now, the rumor mill keeps spinning, with insiders closely watching for any signs of movement. The possibility of a former Dolphin quarterback stepping into the Steelers' spotlight is tantalizing, promising drama and intrigue as the NFL offseason progresses. Whether Huntley will truly replace Rodgers or serve as a complementary piece remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, Pittsburgh's quarterback situation is far from settled, and fans should prepare for some exciting developments ahead. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.